Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ascension Roundtable, Truth or Fiction. So tonight, I thought it would be fun to look at what people are saying about the Ascension. What is it? What isn't it? And I found some fun facts that we're gonna look at together. Kimberly will be joining us in about 5 or 10 minutes, but I'd like us to all go around and introduce ourselves. So I'm Nikki Fouere. I live in France. I'm an Ascension teacher and an energy therapist, and I channel, and I'm also processing my fear just like everybody else here during these crazy Ascension times. How about you, Isabelle?
Hi, everyone. I am Isabelle Zimmerman. You can find me on Attracting Wisdom. I am blogging on my website, but I'm posting it on Facebook and LinkedIn. So if you want to go on LinkedIn, you will find my blogs. I was totally guided by Spirit to go on LinkedIn. And if anyone has been on LinkedIn, they are completely immersed in the 3D reality. So I find that very interesting. I've been inspired to go on LinkedIn to all these business professionals. I have also started creating talks and inviting people to talk on this new app, not created by me, but it's actually called Wisdom, the Irony of Life. And you can find me as Isabelle Zimmerman on there and listen to some of my talks, because I try to bring some teachings and some personal experiences so that you can relate. And right now I'm in North Carolina. And Max?
So, hello everyone and welcome. Breakfast with Max. So I'm working right now in developing my worthiness, abundance work. Also a healer, channeler. I have just been able finally to express the name of my Naga friend, Yoli, and we had our first channeling together, openly, not the first, but openly the first. Right, I'm going through my stuff, my luck and my fears, like fears of names. So we are also work in progress. But we bring our light, we share our light. So this is what we do. Yes, Ascension is part of our work also.
So I just want to jump in. So Nagali is your entity that you're channeling?
Yoli.
Yoli. Okay, and what's your sense around your entity Yoli?
It's Naga. From what we call the Naga world, or inner Earth, which is not inside Earth, but it's Earth, right?
Okay, I never heard of Naga before.
I'm just keeping it short. Naga are considered mythological beings, like snake beings in the Southeast Asia mythology, and there is a lot of mythology around that. But they are real beings.
Wow, I am so going to research it. Nikki's inner being, Asana, you guys weren't privy to our previous phone call, but Nikki channels Asana, and she's this beautiful entity with dark blonde hair and beautiful eyes, and very wise, very wise.
Yeah. I also channel Mary Magdalene.
Yes, a
Yeah.
lot of Mary's teachings.
Yeah, she's a lot of people are
Beautiful.
channeling her. So welcome, you guys. I'm so happy, and also for all of you listening out there, either live or later for the recording, all of these wonderful teachers, including myself, all the information is in the links down below. And Kimberly will be joining us, and her links are there as well. I don't think Summer's going to come tonight, but he'll be back soon, I hope. So the title of this Ascension Roundtable is Truth or Fiction. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how I came to decide on this topic tonight. So I went to a lunch at some friends last weekend, and I'm pretty open about being on a spiritual path. I don't try to convert anybody or anything like that, but as I, move more into my authentic self, I don't have many qualms about just talking about the spiritual path and the teachings that I believe in. It's super interesting because actually I met some friends today, and then I told them I was doing a podcast, and they said, well, what's it on? And I said, oh, spirituality and moving more into love. I mean, that sort of wraps it all up. So that's for me what it is about. It's moving from fear into more love, moving from the head into the heart center. This is what Ascension's about for me on a personal level. But I was at a lunch with many, many different people from many walks of life. And we're sort of an expat community here in France. And so there was this Irish woman, and there was another woman there. That's an English speaker, and they were talking about, they said the word ascension, and my ears perked up. I mean, I knew I talked to them a bit, but and then one of them said something like, yes, when it comes, it's going to be a huge event, and then we'll all be more free. Or I'm not even sure if she said the word freedom. She might have just said it's going to be this big event that's going to impact us all. And it made me think that perhaps there is a group or a perspective, which is that the ascension's coming and we're waiting for it. Not unlike when Jesus ascended, right? It's like when Jesus comes back down, then our sins will be forgiven and we'll be able to go to heaven. So I felt it was very reminiscent of that idea. And it made me want to talk about the idea that it's an event outside of you. And now one could say, isn't it curious, because this is quite a time of chaos. We've had COVID, we've had floodings, we've had fires. I mean, lots of chaos is going on, right? How can this be ascension? Isn't ascension about moving more into love? So isn't it sort of a paradox that all these chaotic things are happening? But it makes me think about the beach. I love the beach. That's my special magic place to go. And on the beach, on the shore, you have all the sand that's sort of impacted, right? When the sand moves into the water, well, the water has waves usually, and when the waves come, it affects the sand, and the sand gets all shaken up, and it moves all around, and it comes back down, and it settles again. And to me, that's what all this chaos feels like. It feels like we all needed to be shaken up in order to remember who we are and who we have always been. So there's the personal aspect of ascension, which is, for me, moving from fear into more love. And in order to do that, it has required really examining a lot of the old systems I was functioning in for many, many, many years, belief systems and patterns of behavior and all that kind of stuff. But when people talk about the ascension, they talk about all these ascension symptoms. And we tend to forget. I don't know, Isabelle, do you forget about having ascension symptoms?
Yeah, I think it's really easy when you're experiencing something, you're like, oh no, is something wrong with me? Like, is my body failing? Or do I need to go to the doctor? Or why am I so tired? Am I getting sick? And it's true. you completely forget, like, oh, that's right, I'm ascending. And then you wait and see if it lasts, you know, for a few days or a few hours. And then when it goes away pretty quick, you're like, oh, I was shifting, I was purging. And one of the things that the reason why we experience ascension symptoms is because we don't necessarily need to process the fear, but our body has to purge the fear. And so it manifests physically in our bodies because it's shedding old energy. And rashes are common, amnesia is common. Like one day you just can't think or remember things, simple things like how to use a pot holder. That was Kimberly's story. Yeah. And even I spoke to somebody today and I mentioned amnesia, and Nikki, I know you experienced that too, where you thought you were getting Alzheimer's, right?
Yeah, I did. I went through a period where I couldn't name things. I had trouble expressing myself.
And Lisa, a friend of mine, she went through the same thing, and she even got a scan of her brain. That's how serious she was. And of course, they didn't find anything. And it went away. And she said, I had no idea that was an Ascension Symptoms. And I said, yeah, I think it's good for us to talk about it, especially more and more humans are awakening and going through this ascension. And there are things going on that you cannot see, but you can certainly feel.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, there's Kimberly. She's joining us. Fantastic. What about you, Max? Are you aware on a daily basis of your ascension symptoms?
Mostly.
Yeah.
But it's more a awareness when it's happening, let's say.
Always.
Suddenly feeling really very like crap, thinking first, oh right, I'm getting COVID, and then recovering, oh no, it's not that, it's absolutely not that, I'm just experiencing something ascensional. And what we forget is that it's not simply that our body is going through something. We are completely changing our body we change completely, and our body changes as well. And so that we were talking before, right, Nikki, crystalline body, our body is already different from the body we had 20, 30 years ago. It has nothing to do. Our reality has changed completely as well. Because we change our vibration. So we couldn't right now, if I had, I think I channel about this, if I had right now, as I am right now, go back 20 years, I couldn't do that. It's impossible. Why? Because my vibration is not the same. In order to time travel, you should change your vibration. That's the only way. So, but why? Because we change completely. We aren't as we were, and all that with ascension is absolutely something that is part of that. So, but we don't go there automatically. We go first in, oh, something is wrong with me. Wow, we do that all the time. Something is wrong with me. Yeah, well, no, not exactly.
I love it. Hi, Kimberly.
Oh.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
Hi.
We've already introduced ourselves, but why don't you go ahead and say hello to everybody out there?
Oh, hello. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Kimberley Leite, and I'm a channel. I am a counselor and a light language alchemist. So, my pleasure and my honor to be here once again to talk about ascension. And I mean, I can go into a lot about what I do, but I'm sure your guys just want to hear about the Ascension. So let's get on with it. But anyway, it's really happy to be here today.
I'm so glad you made it, Kimberly. And I just was saying before you hopped on that I was at a lunch where a couple of people who I have to say they're really invested in the conspiracy theories, the QAnon, that sort of thing. And one of them said something to me about the Ascension's coming. It's going to be a big event. And when I heard that, it made me think, wait a minute, that's not my version of the Ascension. So I thought it would be kind of fun if you guys are keen to play a little game. So the game is Ascension, truth or fiction. So I went on the internet and I found some things that could be true, or they could be true and I just don't know about them, because I know, everyone has access to different versions of knowledge. But I thought it would be fun to see what you guys think about some of the things I found on the internet regarding the Ascension. Okay, so first of all, here's a game. Question number 1. What's another word for Ascension? Who's got another word for it?
I got one.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Enlightenment.
Enlightenment. Love it. Good job, Isabelle.
Isabelle, 12 points.
1 point.
Wait.
You need
I'm
to
writing it down.
What's another? Who's got another one? Another word for the Ascension?
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a classroom. Can I raise my hand?
Totally.
I'm working.
It's a game, and you don't have to raise your hand. Okay, I found one. Here's what
Okay.
The shift. The shift. Has anybody heard that? The shift.
Yes. The shift.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I would call it, because I describe it as the remembering.
Ah.
Nice.
So basically, and that's what I teach, the remembering. So the Ascension, enlightenment is a place that we're already at. It's just that we have forgotten it. So as we're a source, it is about letting go of the unconditioning, our limiting beliefs, irrational fears, perceptions of duality. And as we do the work and as we work on our vibration, we naturally start to remember our naturally enlightened state. So it's not like we have to gain ascension, gain enlightenment. It's a process of remembering by experiencing here in physical reality. That's how we remember.
I love that. And think about it. Here we were out in the 3D world, living our lives, and somehow, at least for myself, I remember reading a book. I think it was Conversations with God, like in 1992 or something. And I was like, as soon as I read that, it went right there. It was in my heart center, it wasn't in the head, and I wanted more, So that begins whatever inspired each of you to start on this journey. We were asleep. That's how we agreed to do that. And then, but we also agreed in this lifetime, in any case, to wake up. So yeah, I love the remembering. That's fabulous. Okay, here's another one. This one's a bit obscure. You'll tell me what you think. I mean, it's complicated. A new crystalline, true or false? A new crystalline matrix will be established within the earth, which will spark physical changes in our bodies.
Well, can I say that's, well, I like to...
You don't have to raise your hand.
I really feel like I'm at school. Okay, we are going into a light bodies. So that is actually happening. And yes, Gaia is evolving. We're connected with Gaia. So because Gaia evolves, everything evolves. We evolve along with it because there's no separation. So people have called it the crystalline body. When I've channeled information on this, which is actually going to be released very shortly today, actually, they talk about a rainbow light body. And that's what we're turning into. So basically, because our consciousness is shifting, our form also shifts along it, because there cannot be separation. We cannot evolve our consciousness without it affecting our form. So I actually channeled the Blue Avians around with this, and they were saying that basically it's going to look like, you know, when light hits your body, it's going to look like a rainbow reflecting off your body. So it means we can access more of our multidimensional selves, basically have more psychic abilities, remembered abilities, and we'll be more connected to oneness mind. That's very exciting. And part of that includes we're activating more of our galactic DNA. So there's lots of stuff happening within us. And yes, because we're not, there's no separation, of course, Gaia is also shifting. She goes through change just like us, just like the universe. So it's all, it's all for our evolution. So yeah, that's my little take on it. Might not be the terminology that everyone puts out there, but yeah, that's my take.
But my question on that is, will we notice the change? Because my thing is that I don't think about my body. My body is what my body is. This reality is what this reality is, right? So we're going to change in a new body. But what I don't subscribe to, or what I think we don't have to, is to do a big deal about that, thinking that we're going just to not be creators anymore, or not be ourselves anymore. We are still ourselves. We change. And what these people you were talking about, Nikki, they seem to put a lot of weight on going to a better place, the good place, or the good people do these good things because they have done the good chores, and so they are rewarded with a new body, with a new place. With I'm thinking about the series, the Good Place on Netflix, I think it is, right? Yeah, and that's what I think we have to demystify. It's that it's not a reward. It's simply our evolution. We're in it, as Kimberly was saying. We are doing it. It's happening.
I'm just going to jump in. So the science behind it, the carbon molecule in our body, it just needs a slight tweaking to be crystalline or saline. And we are changing all the time anyways. Humans age, our hair changes, our sight changes. You know, we don't look like a baby anymore, right? And so I agree with you, Max. It's going to be a very natural process. It's going to be slow and subtle, but this is why we have these ascension symptoms where we're really tired. We get upgrades. We feel energy. For those who don't feel energy yet, don't worry. Trust me, you'll get there. And your inner being is totally guiding all of it. And the crystalline body, I think, because it's part of the ascension, and Kimberly even found a really good series on Gaia around the rainbow bodies. And it just seems like Spirit is talking more about this crystalline body and preparing us. And how it feels to me as a human is, I remember when I was a girl, and sorry, Max, but they made us watch movies around the menstrual cycle. And then and preparing us to get a period every month. And I remember being like a little girl watching this, and I'm like, I don't want this to happen to me.
It makes me think of, have you ever seen Friends? There is an episode in Friends where she's pregnant, and she watches this video of giving birth, and she just wants to stop the horrible thing, and she's scared of it, just scared.
Yeah.
With
so I
screams and all. So,
yeah.
Oh.
Well, I think it's gradual, and I think, like you said, it's part of the ascension, and I don't think it's going to be overnight. I don't think you get a crystal rainbow body overnight. I think if you study nature, even a star or sun to be created takes millions of years. Yes, we're ascending in this body, and so this is why we have a lot of support, but it will be gradual over years, not overnight.
Yeah, you don't have to wake up in the morning and be like, your rainbow's blinding me, quick, Imagine walking around. I was like, you're too bright. I gotta put my shades down. Yeah, it won't be happening overnight, guys. Don't worry about that. But in saying that, a lot of people in recent years, a lot of them are having their abilities become remembered within them, activated within them. So a lot of you out there, all of a sudden, you might actually wake up with a new ability. That does happen. And it feels like it comes out of nowhere. It's happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to many of you. So it's not like it actually came out of nowhere. It was already there within your divine blueprint. It's just that you got to a certain vibration that activated it. So, yeah, it's just as we go through these changes, you'll start to notice the shift. So that's if you can live more in the present moment, you might be able to notice the subtle changes. Perhaps, you can see, Mother Gaia, when you walk outside, the colours seem to be more brighter, or you just feel more love and connected with one another, or perhaps you are seeing more what you perceive to be as daydreams, seeing many, different visions of different lives, and or perhaps you're dreaming more, and that's you actually accessing more of your multidimensional life. So, it can come in ways like that. And then, so it's just paying attention to the details. And, it's not a race here. It's always going to happen in our divine time. So it's just, one step at a time. And let's see, enjoy the ride.
I have a question.
And by the way,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, what I've experienced, because I've been able to get to the rainbow light body state when I do my light language, and how I saw myself is, have you guys seen Twilight? I don't know if it's the first or second movie, where Ed will go to the light, and then he shimmers with all the colors, and that's how I saw it. That's how I envisioned it. So yeah, get ready to sparkle, people.
All right, so here's my question for all the three of you. What color was the sun when you were a child? Nikki, what color was the sun?
Orangey.
Max?
You're on.
I'm muted. I don't remember.
Okay, Kimberly?
Don't remember either.
Nikki remembers. It was orange. We used to color our sun orange. And if you look at the sun now, it's white.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's cool.
It's very cool.
I wonder if anyone still sees it orange.
Only when it's setting in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one related to the sun. Here's a true or false. Light codes that we are receiving from the sun are necessary for activating our 12-strand light body DNA that lies dormant in humans on Earth.
So, sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of the question.
Light codes that we are receiving, so light codes or activations that we are receiving from the sun are necessary for activating our 12-strand light body DNA that lies dormant in humans on Earth.
Well, I don't know about the last part, but I do know that we do receive activations from the sun, but we receive activations from all sorts of energy, from all types of energy in our environment, the moon as well. So I don't know specifically about the whole, what was it? The dormant DNA. Yeah, I don't know about that.
And Isabelle and I know a little bit about that, because remember that book that I had, Children, I forget, it was about indigo children and stuff like that. And they were talking about that we are activating the 12 strand DNA. And because of that, actually the DNA is communicating differently, which it's much quicker. It's not linear. I don't know. But anyway, so is that a question mark then? We're not sure about that?
I do know receive activations from the sun, but
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to label exactly what it does, but definitely I know we do see activations. I mean, when I go in the sun, I can feel the energy, and, there's times when I go out in the sun intentionally to connect with the sun and I receive visions. So definitely there are activations there. But I think the activation of our strands of DNA and all the rest, I don't think it's conditional, as in I don't believe you have to do certain practices or connect to the sun or moon or whatever. I think it's just process of ascension in general. For us being here, we're all going to be activated. So again, it's this concept of duality, right? Like, do we need outside conditions to activate it? I mean, things can, of course, help accelerate it. I'm not saying that doesn't do it. I mean, I do light language, alchemy. So I know that supercharges it. So I do know that. So yeah, I do know it does assist in activations. Whether the finer details, I guess I don't know. What do you guys think or feel? Or I haven't actually heard that information before. So
yeah, some times ago, Roxy did a channeling with beings called the Iona. The Iona are librarians. They have a sort of library that records every sort of life being in the universe. Everyone is there with all versions, all of that thing. And what we understood is that is linked with the DNA. So that the DNA is recording all of us. All of what we are is in our DNA. So I will go with what Kimberly said. I don't think that there is a need of doing something. The DNA is there and is something that we cannot really define, because what we perceive of it's more than the Akashic records. The Akashic is more human. These are for all being, everyone, any dimension or any star, it's recorded there. So I see more the DNA as something that we are not yet able to really grasp, because we give it more a biological meaning, which is the human side. However, my pick on the DNA is that the reality of DNA is not biological, so that it goes beyond that. So I think that, as Kimberly said, we have a lot of activation, a lot of work like that, but going into saying that I don't know that. I don't know. But what I know is that the DNA is something that we cannot really corner in any really knowledge of it yet, completely, of what that is.
I really like what Kimberly said about this idea that when our DNA is activated, or when we are able to do lucid dreaming, then it's sort of like what I was talking about at the very beginning when I introduced the subject of these people thinking that it's an outside event that's going to change. It's going to that event outside of themselves is going to allow them, permit them, get them there to this place, this destination. There is no destination. It's right now, right? Ascension is right now. But I thought it was fun to look at all of this kind of stuff. So here's another one. And this one, really, I don't even think I need to say it, but I'm going to say it because it's basically what Kimberly said. So true or false? Being 5D masters means more people will be able to feel and see energies, higher dimensional beings, and work closely with spirit guides to reintroduce information from ancient times, such as Atlantis?
Yeah.
Okay, here's one out of the blue. This one, I don't think anybody has an answer, but you never know. Maybe somebody will channel an answer. Archangel Metatron is leading the 5D ascension process on Earth. Who's heard that?
I have not heard of that.
Just one doing that?
Yeah, not one.
By the way, I channel all the archangels, just FYI. I have heard of that, but the concept of the archangels, yes, they're architects of our reality, is not just one archangel, right? And we've called, by the way, archangels. I mean, I refer to them as archangels. Many people do, but beyond definitions, they're energy, right? And they're also aspects of us. They're aspects of the one spirit. So we can get into labels and blah, 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 blah. But end of the day, there's not one particular being in charge. If you want to put forth one particular being in charge, you would say source. And source is not a being. It's the universe. It's life force. So, yes, we have beings that help to oversee, help to assist us in our ascension process. There are a lot of galactic races also assisting us on this process. So, yeah, definitely not the one being.
This reminds me, some times ago on Gaia TV, I was watching an interview with someone that is channeling apparently archangels, and she was saying that the fourth dimension is under control of draconians or this kind of thing, and it was really funny because it gave me this idea of control of having someone that or some entity beings that are in charge of something, and I mean, no one is in charge of anything. And though we are doing all this, so it's not, we do not need to have someone in charge of anything. It's absolutely not the case. It gives, right, it goes back to what you were saying, Nikki, of these people that are having these visions of ascension being this event or this kind of thing. It's that there is this externalization of power, this loss of power giving, right? It's I'm not a being that is its own being. There is a external stuff that is in charge of me, and this gives always that, right, that there is that aspect when you say this being is in charge. Oh, right. So but then, right, I can't connect the dot when that is presented, because it's so disempowering.
And don't forget, they're all us in the day. Like all the we're all channels here. We're all channels here. Every being that I channel, and I'm sure all the beings that you channel, guys, they all say they're all us. It's just fun for us. I channel so many different beings of the light, yet I also know they're also me. They're all aspects of each and every one of you. They're just different dimensional aspects of us in different vibrations, different unique frequencies. So we perceive them to be outside ourselves, different to us, right? But this is the whole thing about duality consciousness, right? We're here to expand through duality consciousness, who we truly are as oneness. So in the day, there's just one spirit, at source. And source projected itself, created polarity. Yes, there are different intelligence that help to assist in that, the expansion of the universe and the patterns and all that created different universes and different, you might perceive them as holograms or projections, that were all unique frequencies of the one. So we can get into the details of the different beings. I mean, I'll put my hand up. I channel different beings because, yes, when I tap into the different beings, they have unique information. That's because I'm tapping into unique frequency. But even then, at the end of the day, they're actually all aspects of us, and they're all within us. So when we say there's a particular being that's control of everything, it's actually us. It's another all these beings are just versions of us. It's just we don't recognize them yet because we're still attached to polarity.
Okay, that's a great transition point. So I sort of like wanted to just put out there some of the different perspectives that people have. For me, Ascension has always been a very individual and personal journey, you know, moving from fear into love. And I just want to, I read something that I feel like encapsulates it a bit before I go on to the next question. So basically, you know, as we move into the Ascension, it's a time to release our old identity. So we covered this a lot at the very beginning when we started this podcast with, you know, the dark nights of the soul, processing our limiting beliefs and all that kind of stuff. But it's about, you know, making that shift. And as we process our limiting beliefs, and as we go into the shadow, and as we face our fears, and as we follow inspiration, and as we become more authentic, this old identity falls away, okay? And you discover a new sense of freedom. At least that's certainly my experience with Ascension. But with it comes new questions. True or false? Okay, so if 5D spirit version is my real self, then has my whole existence been a fake and meaningless? I'm sure plenty of you all have something to say about that. I found this on the internet, by the way.
I love that question, Nikki. Awesome. Yes, your whole existence has been fake. No.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I can see a little bit how they are confused of an understanding, because again, they're thinking they're going to completely change. And if that's the spirit, also often says this is the illusion, this is not true reality. And it's because of our perception is limited. And so all I would like to say, my analogy, how I understand it, because everything feels very real. Kimberly feels real, Max and Nikki, we're friends, we're in physical reality. I have a physical body, I eat, you know, I sleep, I have to take a shower, right? There's things that I'm doing physically. I think what spirit is trying to communicate to us is that the universe must show your beliefs. So if you believe you can't sing, perhaps something simple like that, you won't be able to sing, because your perception, even if you are singing, you perceive you're not singing well, or whatever your belief is around singing. The universe my mom does this all the time. My mom has trust issues and she believes people lie and steal. So she's going to experience liars and stealers because that's her belief, and she's emitting that belief as a frequency, a signal. And the universe is designed by source to reflect your beliefs back. So the spirit realm is saying when our beliefs expand and rise into the more love frequency, the illusion changes because it's not true reality. And what they're trying to communicate is they're in a state of love. And so they can see they have access to way more information and way more dimensions and way more things. And the only other analogy that I can give you, because I know this is a complex thought idea here, is let's say you live in a house and you only stayed in your house and you have no idea that there's a mall 15 minutes down the road, there's cities, there's a whole world out there, but you're only in your house. Well, that's a true reality for you, that house that you live in. And you think that that's all there is. But when you step out, you say, oh my gosh, where did all these stores come from? I didn't even know there were stores. I didn't even know there was other cities. I didn't know there was other people. I didn't even know there was an ocean. I didn't even know there was deserts, you know? I didn't know there was snow, whatever. That's what they're saying. The true reality is that we're so limited in our little house that we're not aware of a bigger reality. And hopefully that helps you understand the illusion.
I just had a channel that talked about this, and the idea they gave me is the idea of you are the being that is reading, that is writing the book, and you are reading the book. And as you are reading the book, you are projecting what you are reading. So this gives you an idea of how we are projecting ourselves. Is it real? Yes, because I'm reading it. If you put that in time, you will write the book before you project it. And that is quite correct, except that it's not in time. It's not in time. That's where it's very difficult for us, is that the book exists already in the non-physical, and then it comes into physical, right? But that is going a little bit into much complication, because then, right, many questions that are absolutely not pertinent, because, well, we are here, right? We exist. That is the real thing that is important. We exist and we are having this experience right now. Whether it was already created before in the non-physical or not, who cares? It's happening. My thing with that, is it real or not, is and with the holodeck is, and that's where this idea of the book helps me, is that when I hear holodeck, it in projection in a holodeck, so it gives me always the idea of someone that says, yeah, so it's computerized. That's where for me it becomes where I say no. It's not computerized, not in the human idea of computers. Because if you have the human idea of computers, someone has to be behind the keyboard writing the program. So if you have that idea, it means that someone is in charge. And no one is in charge. So taking that away is that, yeah, okay, it's a holodeck, but that holodeck is your holodeck. So it's real. You're real.
And we're just not real. We're highly, highly advanced. And I love both of your analogies. And this whole concept of, it's an illusion, and I mean, I always talk about how it's an illusion, but it's a powerful illusion, and it's not a meaningless illusion. People perceive that, because, in other dimensions, and, we exist in different worlds, perhaps what we perceive to be as advanced society somewhere, and we perceive this lifetime as maybe not very advanced or not important. We perceive density, we perceive fear. So a lot of people want to be elsewhere, right? They're like, oh, I wish I could return home to my other planet, or I wish I could not be here. People explore these kind of ideas. But the fact that we're here exploring physical reality, only the most advanced beings could be here in this transition. And the fact that we are creators and get to experience our creation. That's how advanced we are. Not all dimensions get to exist in physical reality and have that, having the conscious awareness of their physical experience, right? Because we're all the one spirit, yet our consciousness is here in physical reality, which means we can consciously create. We create from non-physical dimensions, but also we have perceptions of creating in physical reality. because of our concepts of duality, depending on your beliefs around creation. Yet we also get to experience our creation. That is such a highly advanced existence, but people don't always perceive that, right? So the fact that we're here, guys, it's just, you know, we might not perceive that we're highly advanced because we perceive perhaps conflict or all this stuff happening around the world, but it's all for our evolution. And we talked earlier of the event, right? But events already been happening ever since, when was it? A few years ago, we had like the bushfires here in Australia. Of course, we got the pandemic. You've got they had the US elections and all these interesting things happening around the world, right? They were ascension events. Yes, there were different reasons behind certain things and depending on your dimensional point of view, but they were all here to help catalyze us, to assist us in our ascension. You had to basically trigger us, so we were forced to ask us existential questions. It helped to trigger the purge, so we had to face our shadow selves. And so if you want to place, you know, the whole concept around events, things that happen in our reality is all for us. So you might ask, why will we experience such events, you know, and we judge our outside conditions on how advanced we are, or on maybe this life isn't important, but it's just the opposite. Because we're experiencing such perceived density and such fear, that's what actually helps to expand the universe the most. It's polarity, and it's not just being able to experience it, it's about being able to experience it and to come through it, right? And this whole process of going through what we perceive to be darkness and then remember who we truly are, remember that, you know, we are powerful, that also helps to basically, it creates ripple effects throughout the universe, right? So, you know, no matter what you're experiencing, whether you're in the middle of it, whether you're experiencing ascension symptoms, whether you've had certain life events or conditions that perhaps you perceive as negative, you know, it's all for your evolution because you're highly advanced, because we chose it for ourselves, because that's how advanced we are. Only the most advanced beings can choose such conditions for itself, can create such conditions for itself. Not all dimensions get to experience fear in this density, right? Even though we're all one, right? We're all one spirit. We kind of project throughout all the universe in different dimensions, and we're having a unique experience here in physical reality, in this dimension, in this perception of a life, right? So the fact that you're living and breathing here, that shows how advanced you are, and you have all the technologies within you to create through this lifetime and to get empowered from this lifetime. So yeah, it's just embracing everything in your reality, and by you being here, you're expanding not only your perceived individual consciousness, but all of the universe, all the collective. So yeah, so enjoy the ride, guys.
Okay, so you just answered the next question I found, which was, has anything I have ever done in my lifetime had any real value? And you basically just answered that question, right? Every experience that we have allows us to have more awareness about what our beliefs are. You know, so we create them in the first 7 years of our life, and then and then law of attraction keeps perpetuating them, and then we wake up and then we start, you know, looking at all of those. Well, you know, I'm going to leave it up to you. It's open. Who wants to talk about where we've got a few more minutes if somebody else wants to talk about this personal journey of the soul? What is it for you in these ascension times?
Let me start with something now. Something that I really appreciated that happened, that I've done in a channel recently. So I was channeling Yeshua. So I talked with Nikki about this. And it relates with what Kimberly you were saying. And I realize right now, right, what they say is that Christianity is a ascension event as well, in the sense that the creation of the religion has created what now is pushing us in ascension. But the most important thing that they said, that when I was channeling that, is this: what we're doing right now is part of it. Is the realization that we are sharing our light. And the sharing of our life, so the enlightenment that we have experienced, and then the fact that we are sharing it, is what basically is amplifying the ascension and bringing new awareness and a movement in our global consciousness. And it doesn't matter how that comes true or how the moment that we are sharing it, then that has an impact with all there is. And I thought, and they emphasize the fact that that's all you need to do, basically, right? That sharing, that allowing the light to go, to enlighten it, and without any weight in expectation in anything. But then we are human, so we are human and we do the human thing. But basically, that's the center of what we're doing, and I love that aspect of what we are doing, because I think that is really beautiful, and everyone is doing it.
You know, I want to just say I really love the fact that I'm even here having this conversation with you guys, and that there are so many of these kind of conversations going on now that didn't exist 20 years ago, because on this ascension journey, this discovery of who I truly am, where I'm not trying to fit in to be somebody else, to want to be loved, you know, all those things that were, you know, Nikki before she woke up. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but today I have glimpses of who I truly am. That is so important during these times, because sometimes being on this journey can be very lonely. Even though we talked about this just before the call, it's true, everybody's there. But, you know, as we process our limiting beliefs and as our, you know, operating systems shift, the people that were in our lives before we, you know, at least for myself, before I really, really deep dived into this journey, they sort of did fall away. And so the road has gotten narrower. I mean, come on, the majority of the people out there are still, you know, in their fear. Most of them are still in their fear. So we are, you know, I guess we're on the leading edge. One could say we're on the leading edge. And so it's really, for me, important to have these kinds of conversations with like-minded people. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll chime in. And yeah, I love being part of this conversation too, this beautiful co-creation. Yeah, so regardless of where you are, I just want to say that you cannot not ascend. That makes sense, right? We are in this ascension journey together. You cannot take the ascension journey. You can choose to explore it in fear, but you're still going to ascend. It just, you know, you'll be going round and around and around. You know, you'll be still evolving here and in other dimensions across the universe. Some lifetimes may be more enjoyable than others, but you're still on this ascension journey, right? We're here to have experiences. We're here to relate our experience to other beings. That's why we're here in physical reality. That's an aspect of how the universe expands itself, right? To perceive itself in different forms, having unique experiences. Some perhaps perceived to be negative and some are positive. But from the higher perspective, it is just experience. It's not good. It's not bad. It's neutral. It's just an experience. Yet in the duality versions of us that we perceive wrong and right, they do trigger us, and that again takes us on an inner journey. And this inner journey is what helps to accelerate the ascension. So yes, you can accelerate the ascension, but you can never stop it, right? So there are obviously certain things you can do to help for you to explore this ascension journey in a more perceived free way, in a perceived more joyous way, because we're God creators here, so you can choose how you explore it. You can do it in fear or love. It's up to you, right? So understand, no matter where you are at, even if you are exploring fear-based perceptions like the matrix and control over people and all the rest, that's still part of your ascension journey. So no matter where you're at, and there are a lot of people I know they're exploring this journey in different ways, even a lot of people in the spiritual communities, a lot of people are waking up, as like we like to term it, right? And as we start to perceive beyond the veil of physical reality, if we don't do our shadow work, if we don't look at that perceived inner darkness, which is not, and understand that perceived inner darkness is not evil, it's not something to repress, it's actually part of our aspects of us that we have not loved. So when we talk about shadow work, it's about having courage when you are triggered to look at it, because there's dimensions of us which we have not loved, which we've not repressed, so we have judged. So when we do our shadow work, when we can accept that within ourselves and within others, that's how you can assist in this ascension journey. So if you do this work, so basically if you bypass a lot of this work, what can happen is that you can start to awaken, right? And you can start to see beyond the veil of physical reality, but you then start to explore it in dimensions of fear. And this is why we're seeing a lot of people around the world, like you mentioned, conspiracy theories, stuff like that. I understand that's not wrong here. I mean, I went through that myself some years ago. I went through that rabbit hole. Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, guys, because it's not going to go anywhere except fear, and you're going to feel like crap. Okay, I've been there years ago. And this can happen, and it's a stage of awakening. We go through many different stages of awakening. But understand that's because we're exploring behind the veil of physicality, but in dimensions of fear. It's not wrong. But it comes to a point where you're going to have to choose. It's up to you. If you want to continue to explore fear, it's up to you. But you do have the power to choose love, and understand that too is an illusion, because everything that's happening for us is out of a higher love. So when we perceive things happening to us, happening against us, understand that again is just what we talked about, an illusion. It is a dimension of experience that is aligned to the fear experience from that experience. So it's about the remembering journey is doing our unlearning, like I like to call it. It's about looking at our shadow selves, addressing our limiting beliefs, irrational fears, our perceptions of duality. And it's about practice too, guys, being consciously seeing the high perspective, that if you are judging someone, you are judging yourself, because all is one. So it's about consciously practicing seeing oneness in all, practicing unconditional acceptance, even if you do not agree with certain behaviors. When you practice unconditional acceptance, you are then in a vibration of love. You're then closer to seeing your reality from the point of source consciousness, from a point of single point origin. And you start to see your reality through the eyes of the oneness, right? So it's about conscious practice, guys, and it doesn't happen overnight. We all experience fear. That's part of the human experience. That's why we're here. You can't, guess what, guys? There's no magic pill. You do have to experience fear, guys. So it's about how you change your perception to fear. And yes, as we go through this ascension journey, the fear will become less dense, less intense, but we're still going to be triggered by fear as long as we're attached as a collective to a duality consciousness. Yes, we're shifting to more oneness dimensions. So understand, no matter where you're at in your journey, whether we're exploring love or fear, it's not wrong, it's not right. It's just you have the choice and you have the power to choose love and to explore this reality in a more joyous way. So that choice is up to you. You do have the power to do that.
Thank you, Kimberly. So I would like to say, when you are in fear or judgment, try to soften it And a lot of times spirit will say, go into your heart center. And I remember when I first heard those words, I was like my heart, it's an organ, isn't it? Like, I don't understand. How do I go in? How do I go into something in my chest, right? And heart center is, your heart is physical, but it is an energetic portal. And you can go on heartmath.org to see the science around this energetic portal and the field of energy emitting. And there's a lot going on in our heart. However, heart center is when you quiet your mind and your judgment of seeing something is wrong and being mad and angry and blaming and guilt and shame, right? So you soften it, you acknowledge it, just say, I'm mad or angry or I blame this person or whatever, because you're going to have to tell your ego mind yes in order for it to be quiet. Weird, but it works. So you say yes, and then you breathe, and then imagine breathing through your heart, and then you soften it, and then you look at the person that was angry or you're angry at or you're judging, and then say, they're in fear, I'm in fear. It's okay to be in fear. I've been scared before. I've acted out. I've defended myself. I've made someone else wrong. They made me wrong. They judged me. We judged. We all judged. It's okay. And that's how you can soften it. And that's going into your heart center. And then you may, with practice of meditation, you may hear messages from your inner being, or you might get a feeling of love, or you might get a feeling of understanding, or you might get a download of information around what you are processing. Another good way is journaling. Sometimes writing it out allows you to see a different perspective and go into your heart center. So that's what I wanted to share around this.
Love that. Love everything I've heard. Kimberly said something. When you're triggered, if you have the courage to look at it. So the old 3D way is that it's their fault. They're wrong. And as master creators, we are no longer victims. And so we understand today that everything that happens for us. And, you know, sometimes that's a little tough. You know, my husband had a heart attack a month ago, and I didn't see it as wrong. It was like a major event in our family, but I didn't see it as wrong. You know, I wasn't mad at the doctors. I was initially a little mad at myself because I just went back into my old story about not getting it right, but you know, I got over it. And so yeah, these events happen for us to be able to go into a deeper self-discovery, right? So when I'm triggered, it's because I'm looking at something from the perspective of it being wrong. So it means I need to look at my beliefs. What am I believing, you know? And we've talked about this, I think, on almost every podcast. So I'm not going to go into it, but I do want to say that you're not alone on this journey. We're all over the world, us light workers, pushing through our fears, following inspiration, recentering ourselves when we go off into our fear. You know, we meditate together, we sing together. You know, I love the fact that everybody's ascending, you know, and there may be people in your entourage that you think, oh, if they could just get it. But everybody has their own version of ascension. You know, I used to always say, my husband, and he will again play because he's a musician. I mean, that's not his profession, but he's in a band and he loves music. And when he plays music, I can see he's in another vibration. So whatever it is, it doesn't have to be your version. It can be their unique version, to respect everybody's unique journey. And first and foremost, care more about how you feel. Move into your emotions. Allow them to be there. You don't have to fix anything. You're not broken. we're all doing the best that we can. And I just want to say, the last thing I want to say that I found on the internet was the best thing I found, which is your ascension is simply the next chapter of your miraculous story. I love that. Right? Does anybody else want to say anything else before we end our podcast tonight?
Yes. I'd like to come back to fear. We have said a lot of fear. I want you to say this. When you interact with other beings, whether in channeling, spiritual community channeling, or anything else, if that interaction is an interaction of fear, question it. The being that we channel will not leave anyone else in fear, right? Fear is not part of it. So if you interact and you are scared, there is something there that you have to explore and to understand why this interaction gives me fear.
I love it. All right, guys.
Are there any questions at all?
No.
From the audience? No? Okay.
No.
Okay, so our next podcast is November 2nd. Who would like to host that? I don't know who's on how it goes. Who's next?
Okay.
Who wants to? All right, we'll just leave it open.
I already have a topic. If
oh, fantastic!
I can go if you want.
Great.
That would be great. Max, go ahead. That would be great. Or
what's your topic, Max?
Death.
Is it ego death that we're talking about, or physical death?
No, death in ascension. The ascensional death. It's because it's to bring death to another level, right? That fear, right? The fear of death. However, that's not death, right? It's a evolution. So it's to bring that into the story, right? Ascension, while death is part of ascension, is to see it in a different way. Yes.
Right? Lovely. I can't wait. So we'll see everybody on November 2nd, and Max will be hosting. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.